podcast is a member of WildGamesProductions.com and D20Radio.com.
Welcome to the All Initiative Podcast, the only Advanced Dungeons & Dragons First Edition podcast in superior edition.
The Roll Initiative Podcast, volume number 3, issue number 106. DM Vince, your host, alongside DM Nick.
Hi, everybody.
And back by popular demand, DM Matt.
How's it going, everyone?
Oh, that's a damn lie. He wasn't back by popular demand. Oh, hi, Matt.
Especially considering the time warp we're currently in, people don't even know I was gone.
Hey, guess what, folks? December 21st happened. We're still here.
Yeah.
Well, actually, when this show comes out, it's probably going to be
January 21st. We're close to it.
See? And we're still here.
That's right. And unfortunately, Will is unable to join us this week. He had some prior commitments, so we're going to be trucking on without him this week as he wanted us to do.
Lions ate him.
Lions ate him?
The lions ate him.
The Christians threw him to the lions.
That's really, I was referring to Conan the Barbarian movie.
Oh, excuse me.
It's okay.
The new crappy one or the...
No. The one with Arnold.
Not the one with the guy who looks better, but played an acting worse than Arnold.
Oh, God, yeah.
Anyway, so what have we been up to? I've been playing in some face-to-face games. That's really about it. Face-to-face first edition and BX edition, so a lot of fun there. Matt, what have you been up to? Because you've been gone for a couple episodes.
Oh, well, outside of just all the wacky stuff that is my life that's been occupying my time, like car braking and the wheel actually being tilted at a 45-degree angle because the control arm decided to break, and other insanity, gaming-wise, I'm still on hiatus from my weekly gaming group, unfortunately. We're going to start at the beginning of the new year because everyone kept having to travel during holidays to see family and crazy talk like that. So, really, I've played in a couple Hero Click tournaments I was able to squeeze in, and I also kind of rediscovered playing the Phil Singer games. They make a Legends of Wrestling card game. I've been playing that a lot. You can actually play it solitaire, so I've been running my own little wrestling promotion that saw Nature Boy Buddy Rogers beat Nick Bockwinkel in the finals of the heavyweight title tournament. What
about Ric Flair?
Ric Flair is not in it.
Randy Macho Man Savage?
No.
Hacksaw Jim?
Yeah, Hacksaw's in it. He was.
No way.
Yep. I have Hacksaw. He was actually, I think, in the finals of my U.S. title tournament. Let's see here. I can actually pull up the results here.
I always love Randy Macho Man Savage.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because it was Hacksaw Jim Duggan versus Red Bastien in the finals, but Hacksaw lost, unfortunately.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Typical Hacksaw ending.
Yep, so close. But Hacksaw in the semifinals did beat Buff Bagwell.
Buff Bagwell's in it, but not... Jeez.
Yes, it's got a nice eclectic mix of guys. And then I had Mil Mascaris come out and challenge Buddy Rogers for the title. So that's my heavyweight title feud. King Kong Bundy is in it as well.
Bundy, yay!
Yeah, so Will would be happy. He's managed by Bobby Heenan. He's part of the Heenan family, along with Harley Race.
Awesome.
And Nick
Sergeant
Bockwinkel.
Slaughter?
No Sergeant Slaughter. Basically, if they're on WWE television or you see them, they're not in it. I mean, there's but Daniel Bryan is in the game, but I haven't started using him yet.
Yeah, I'm kind of dating myself when I'm bringing up guys like Sergeant Slaughter and
$1 Million Man's in it, and Virgil.
Is Daniel Bryan the yes Daniel Bryan or the no Daniel Bryan?
It would be he would be the yes Daniel Bryan, since they actually have his newest card actually has him with the big gold belt on it. Nice. So
it sounds so fun.
Oh yeah, it's just and just lots of. They also have like random ECW guys, Rob Sabu, Sandman. I mean, they've got a little of everything. New Age Outlaws are in it.
Oh, you didn't know?
Yep. They signed up when they were in TNA. That's how they managed to get in the game.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. Coco Beware?
Hogan?
No Hogan.
Surprised.
Yeah. Well,
Welcome me to Run Wild.
Nikolai Volkov and the Iron Sheik are in it.
Jeez,
But-
let's not. Let me take this Iron Sheik right now.
Yeah. But yeah, it's if you like wrestling games, it's a fun game. That's mechanic wise, it's real simple, but it's still amusing because it's dice driven. So just sometimes random things happen, like Andre the Giant almost lost to a wrestler from Chikara, Fire Ant, which I mean, yes. He almost beat Andre the Giant and just took a huge beating in the process, but nearly beat Andre.
God beat me.
I'm the Princess Bride. But yeah. PhilSingerGames.com. It's quality fun. They also have a sci-fi version too, Champions of the Galaxy, which is just like futuristic sci-fi wrestling stuff of their own creations. And people that have read Pro Wrestling Illustrated for years would probably have seen their ads because they were advertising in PWI back in the 80s.
You'll have to run that for us one time we get together.
Oh, yeah, definitely. But, yeah, that's about all I've been doing gaming-wise, so.
And how's your motion in the hand?
It's slowly getting better. Just still a little stiff at times, but it's coming back ever so slowly. It's just
Dex score is slowly coming back up to what it was.
yeah, it takes a while. When you have those massive point drops, it just doesn't come back overnight. You have to earn them up over time.
Of course not. Yeah.
Exactly.
Just restore.
Where's a cleric when you need him?
Exactly.
You need that restore spell casted on you. But
There
anyway,
you go.
Yeah.
Nick,
Yes. Oh, gaming wise, let's see.
no, Nick.
Yeah, I think I brought. What's that?
I said, why don't you put your wife on the podcast? Let's ask her what's that's up.
She's not here right now. So anyway, yeah, I think I mentioned last show that we actually I got back-to-back weekends of gaming, which was like crazy insane. And it was fun though. So, but other than that, nothing really much. Just kind of reading up on stuff for the campaigns. Make sure I don't get them confused because they're both. I'm doing both versions of Temple of Elemental Evil, so I'm trying to keep both separate. It's like, okay, the kid group is in this area, the other group is in this area. So I'm trying to think of like looking into the future where the campaign's going to go. So just kind of seeing where that would be. Kind of kicking around the idea of actually either going ahead with the Scourge of the Slave Lord super module, or I don't know, maybe something else. We'll see as things progress. So that's where kind of things have been going.
Cool. Nick, you said we had a star review to read this week.
Yeah, actually, we do have 1-star review on iTunes. So just remind everybody, head to iTunes. Go to the iTunes store, type in Roll for Initiative, and you can look us up. We have all the previous issues up on iTunes, and you can subscribe, get the feed, and all that other good stuff. And just to let everybody know, we have 145 reviews right now on iTunes.
Wow.
And out of those, 124 are 5-star. So, in my opinion, I think we're doing something right, guys. But we got one new review. It was actually, it was sent today by Archiriaco. I think I'm pronouncing that right, by Archiriaco. And it's a 5-star review. Old School Gamers Unite with 3 exclamation points. And Chiriaco says, this is a great, great, great podcast for all of us who ate, slept, and breathed AD&D in the 80s. I am completely disgusted with the way WotC has butchered D&D as of late, and amazed at how the younger generations think D&D is nothing more than a glorified game of chess. So, this is refreshing to hear a podcast that is dedicated to the glory days of gaming. You guys have given me a jolt of ideas for my new AD&D campaign. Thank you, RFI staff, and keep up the good work. well, at Chiriaco, you're very welcome. So we're glad that we can help you out. So, and let your friends know. Tell them too. So that's our latest review on iTunes.
Yay.
Hey, hooray for us.
I think that is the 144. That's more reviews than most of the people on the network.
Wow.
Including D20 Radio Network, I think.
Whoa.
Wow.
I think we have more than Order 66 at this point.
RFI Nation running wild.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
All right, cool. Let's head over to Sage Advice.
Sage Advice.
We are live in the Sage Advice section now, where we read to you your questions and answers. Now, we read anything you send to us, pretty much, as long as it's within reason of not cursing and stuff. Yep. Though I haven't gotten any of those emails, but I'm sure I will now.
Or voicemails too.
Yeah, voicemails too, and you can pick up the phone and dial in at 570-865-4210, the hotline.
Yep, or you can send us an email at rfistaff@gmail.com.
Or you can go right to our website and click the contact form and fill in the information and send us an email that way.
Yes, there's many different ways you could harass us.
Yeah, so you can go to Nick's house, knock on his door, and leave a message.
No.
Oh. Well, what if they knew you and they wanted to leave a message for the show, Nick?
Then I would send my daughter up to them, and they would like, why'd you send this child to me? Because after 10 minutes, they'd say, kill me now.
So we got this voicemail. Unfortunately, the gentleman did not leave his name, but I believe, looking at the incoming, it is an overseas voicemail question to us. So we appreciate him taking the time to call in, and it probably cost him a little bit. So
Thank you, Fred,
probably from England, maybe Australia. I don't know, but let's find out.
Hi guys, I've just been listening to your iPodcast, which I'm really enjoying. I'm an old school AD&D player, but I haven't played for many years now. But nonetheless, I'm still enjoying listening to your podcast. I just finished listening to the one about multi-class characters, and actually I've left a message on your discussion board with a few points, but I can understand if you don't want to rehash that material again. But in essence, the question to you is this: if you have, say, an established group party of characters which are reasonably well developed, say 5th, 6th level, and you have one of those characters actually die, what do you do if that person obviously wants to rejoin the group? Do you get them to roll over again a 1st level character, and then it's up to the party to effectively shield that guy until he gets to the point where he's actually able to sort of survive on his own 2 feet? Maybe cast his, one magic missile and then just be, towed around the rest of the dungeon crawl. When I used to DM, what I quite often used to do instead of that was to take one of the NPCs, which would be sort of hovering around the group, and essentially hand that to the player, roll up a character for them, up the level to a level maybe a little bit, a couple levels behind the characters that we're actually playing, and in that way they wouldn't be a complete liability for that rest of the game. That seemed to work quite effectively, but maybe you guys have some other ideas about that. The other question I have, if you've got time to deal with it, is one about someone like me who hasn't gamed for quite a long time. How you recommend those people getting back into the game? Because I've had a look on a few discussion boards and things like that, and really I found it quite difficult to sort of get in contact. I'm actually not in America. I don't know if there's sort of forums out there and things like that are actually put people in contact. I understand that some people Skype and things like that and use some sort of virtual map. I mean, I don't know anything about these sort of virtual maps which can sort of show people whereabouts they are in relation to each other, and they can sort of do the whole thing online. Anyway, I'd be really interested to hear any of your thoughts on that matter or any of those points. That'd be great. Cheers, guys. Keep up the good work, and you never know, you might even inspire me back into breaking out the D20 again. Cheers, fellas. Bye.
All right. Well, thank you for that voicemail. So he has two questions for us. First one, the player character dies, and not the player, the character, and he, how do you bring them back into the group if they're, say, their 5th or 6th level? And also, how do you get back into gaming if you've been out of it for such a long time? Who wants to go first?
Well, I could take the first part, the first question.
Go ahead.
At least what I do, if I ever ran into a situation, and I have, where one of the player characters dies, they weren't able to resurrect them for one reason or another, like there's no body left, which has happened. What I usually do is like what our caller did say was, if there is an NPC that is around, maybe in a particular area, village, town, what have you, and they in their stats form, I might have the one player use that NPC if it's within certain level limits. What other thing I usually do, and this is just me personally, is I usually have them roll up another character, and it depends. And what I'm going to explain here is it depends on how far along the campaign it is. If they're within, everybody's within like 1st to 4th level, the character can be 1st level usually, most of the time. But once you get around 4th, 5th level or something like that, I'll have them create a character, and then after that, I'll usually have that character that they bring in about 2 levels lower than the average party level. So it could be a little bit more fair. So they're not being, for one thing, an experience point leech, and 2, they're being useful to the party, So, because how would you like to feel like if you had an 8th level character, everybody's around 8th, 9th level, and you're going through against the Giants series, and your character dies? Do you really want to bring in a 1st level character into against the Giants? No, I don't think so. Yeah. That's like going through the meat grinder right there. I mean, you're going to be hiding behind everybody. You're not going to be useful, and you're just going to be an experience point leech when it comes down to experience points. I don't think that's very fair to the party. So I usually have it to where that new character is about 2 levels lower than the party. So that won't be right up there, but you know what, can get up to where the rest of the party is eventually. That's how I generally handle it.
Yeah, you'll be a leech as far as experiences. You won't only go up 1 level anyway per session. Right.
So it's like the level progression is going to be, well, I don't know. That's the way I handle it. It's worked pretty good so far. I haven't had any issues. I like the NPC thing he mentioned. If it's within the bounds of the campaign and there's an NPC that looks like that would be available to do that sort of thing, absolutely, that's what I would do.
Yeah, that's the way I do it too. I mean, I've had it. Usually, it'll be 1 or 2 levels, depending on what type of game we're playing. If it's going to be a high death, or if it's a more standard fare, and just come up with like a creative way to have a reason for this character to now be with the party.
Right.
So that's I think the bigger trick. Not so much mechanically what level do you bring the character back.
Right.
It's more how do you fit this new character into the story and have it make sense.
Now, I do remember something though in the back of the Dungeon Master's Guide. There is there's a guide to this, like if how to create characters that aren't 1st level. There is a process for that in the Dungeon Master's Guide. And that's a pretty good start if you want to do something like this.
Yeah. I've always taken the party average and from that divided in half, and that's what the character starts at.
Yeah. Well, whatever works, I just do it like, hey, the character's like 2 levels lower, and we'll figure out hit points and, maybe whatever armor. And I usually do it as far as if they have magic items. It depends on what level. If they're like 6th level, I'm going to assume they're going to have like a few magic items on them. So I would say I usually do like one magic item per level. So 6 level characters probably going to have 6 magic items. I think that's how I do it. I think that's kind of fair. It's not too overly crazy. And whatever magic items come up, if they're like one-use items like a potion or a scroll or something like that, well, that's your magic item.
Yeah. Or you just use the chart in the back of the DM's guide, like you said.
Yeah, you do it that way. And that one's more about, I think it's the percentage of what kind of magic items you have as per class. You can use that as a guide too, however you want to do it. Now, as far as the second question, then,
how to get back into gaming? Well, pick up the books, start reading, get your friends interested. Try running a few sessions. Try listening to a few of the online games that you can find. Doesn't matter what edition, just to get your imagination going. Mostly, there's a lot of actual play podcasts, so it doesn't matter what edition.
Right, and there's plenty of there's forums that go out there like on ours.
Yeah.
I believe even when we have a place where you can meet other gamers.
Yeah.
If you're looking for either a face-to-face game, which I get the impression a lot of us would prefer to do, but there's ways of doing it through Skype. And
there's also meetup.com, which you can find people in your area and find a group that way.
Oh yeah, in a way it's it's harder in some ways because the brick and mortar stores are kind of like going away, but there are other ways via the internet that we can meet some other people and try to get with them. And another way you can meet with some people is after going through those routes, go to a convention too. You might be surprised that there's a convention in your area, and I know and it sounds like the gentleman who called is from England. There's plenty of gaming conventions in England. So,
well, it also depends on where he is in England too.
Well, yeah, that's true.
I know there's quite a few people in our forums that are from the UK in that area that might be able to help him out with that.
Yeah, if anything, I found out the gaming community is, by and large, very helpful to other gamers. Right. Occasionally, you get some jerks now and then, but that's like that with any, group. But
isn't Game Workshops really big in the UK?
Yeah.
Yes, huge.
I know they have quite a few stores there in the UK. So if you live in the UK area, just go to one of those stores and ask around there.
Right.
Yeah.
And even though it's a Games Workshop store and they only sell Games Workshop games, it doesn't mean, though, that the gamers there won't play other games.
Exactly. That's a good point. Another game that's really popular in England is Call of Cthulhu. Highly popular there. But it's like Matt, I think, was kind of alluding to is there's cross-pollination amongst different gaming groups. You got some guys who play Warhammer 40K and stuff like that, but they do role-playing too, and we're all part of the same larger community of recreational gaming. So yeah, I'm sure you're going to find something. So yeah, just take those few steps.
Right. Yeah, it's my current gaming group. A friend of mine actually gathered them up off, I think, Meetup. It's funny, none of us actually can remember exactly how our group met, other than my friend Julie. She's the one that found the other three guys in my gaming group. We had never met before we started gaming. We just had we all met at like a restaurant. We're like, hey, let's just talk, see what we want to play. And we just started playing, and now we play like every week, except during holidays. I'm
almost certain like how my best friend Jeff, how we got together is when we started getting into, just for example, when Hackmaster was released about 10 so years ago. And I think it was just through Kenzerko's forums. I just saw under his profile, he lived in Ohio, and I'm like, hey, I'm moving back there. And he was like, oh, cool, I live in Bedford. I'm like, oh, okay, I'm going to live here, and we'll get together. And it just so happens that, we were just a few miles apart when I finally moved back, and we finally got the rest of his friends together, and through various different changes, it's been basically the same core group for almost 10 years now, about 11 now.
Right.
A match made in heaven.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, and my friend Julie that corralled my current gaming group, I actually met her at Origins back in 2004.
There you go.
So Because I met someone back in 2004, I actually have a current gaming group that I probably wouldn't otherwise have, even though Julie actually isn't a part of it anymore because she moved to New York.
And then we invited you on the podcast.
Yes. Yeah.
Because you met us at Gen Con.
Yeah, Gen Con 2010.
You lucky guy, now you're our producer.
Yep. And then actually I had met Nick at Origins prior to that. Wearing an RFI shirt. Yeah.
Holy crap, that's right.
Yeah.
I remember that.
That I won for free on issue 17.
That's right. Oh, my God. That's so funny. That was Origins 2000. Yeah.
10.
2009?
No,
Maybe
2010.
Yeah. Wow.
Yep.
Jason never told me what he had on you to get you to do the producing part, so I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah.
Yeah, now go produce something.
Yeah.
Don't produce. Anyway, thanks for the voicemail. You can call in, and let's head into the first email we have is from Mick. Not Mick Foley, Mick. He's emailing in because Will was asking for competition ideas. For maybe he wanted to give out some more books and he wasn't sure what to do.
Right. Yeah.
Things. He has about 7, 8, 9 different things here. He has best original or new trap, trick, or puzzle. Maybe a contest for best new original magic item, best new original monster or race, best new original spell. Then he has write to detail backgrounds for a party of 5 to 8 characters for a new campaign, preferably including inner relationships and secret agendas. That's pretty cool.
Ooh, I like that.
The only restriction being that no levels of these characters are to be specified. Okay. Next one, part 1, best new original adventure plotline in less than 250 words. Someone else did that in the past.
Yeah.
Oh, he was a Wizard of the Coast author, Bruce
Cordell?
Yes, he did that. He was giving away his new book that way. Part 2, competition to write a module incorporating the winning plot from part 1 above. Bonus if any of the 1 to 5 above are also incorporated. Nice. Number 7, part 1, write a plotless 5 to 7 event including dungeon rooms, outdoor areas, city buildings, mini module. Best 2 or 3 of these plotless mini modules are to be selected for part 2 of the competition. Wow, this guy really thought this out. Part 2, to write a single coherent module that in some way incorporates the selected 2/3 mini module in part 1. This sounds like a lawyer wrote this in a creative, seamless fashion. Again, bonus if any of the 1 to 5 above are also incorporated. Nick.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Sounds complicated.
I know, it's just like a lawyer wrote it almost.
I do like the idea, like for the traps and for the monsters. That's pretty cool.
Yes, or the pre-gen party that you could. Because how many times have we just like, let's just run a game and we don't have pre-gens handy?
Yeah, that's a good idea too.
Yeah, and that, or if you wanted to run like a convention, that'd be something. Have them like make a convention game.
Yeah,
that would require pre-gens and a short plot and just some ideas
and scoring system.
Yes, the score. Bring back the tournament scoring system.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Cool. Thanks, Mick.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Okay, next.
Bang, bang.
Bang, bang, yeah. Have a nice day. Next one comes from DM Scott. He jumps right into it, assuming we're talking by the book here, guys. I have a question regarding magic user acquisition of new spells. We all know this one. The DM guide states that a first level magic user will begin with only 4 spells. I also know that to acquire new spells, they must find scrolls or spell books, etc., etc. Mm-hmm. What I wonder about is the line in the DMG that says a magic user will require 1 and only 1 spell when gaining a level. Does this imply that the only time a magic user can add a new spell to their spell book is when they gain a level? And even then, only 1 spell? If that's the case, then a 7th level magic user, for example, would only have 10 spells in their book. Is that correct? Thanks for the great podcast.
Well, that kind of runs contrary to what it has in the player's handbook to minimum and maximum number of spells per level of caster.
Right.
went based off intelligence. So in a way, that's contradictory. Wouldn't you agree?
Not necessarily. The way I read the minimum and maximum is the total number of spells you can know of that level maximum. However, when it comes to acquiring the spells, that spell you acquire per level, I had always thought of that as just when you're doing your studying, you're also researching spells and scribbling, and as you level up, you have that eureka moment and you have your new spell. So that is how I've always said you acquire your one new spell per level. You're not going to be able to get 2 or 3 spells just for going up a level. However, through your exploration, you can steal and borrow other people's spell books and copy spells out of that and gain them as well up to your maximum.
You're talking like the one spell you gain per level plus wherever you acquire through adventuring.
Right. So if you never actually left the library and all you did was study and level up through not adventuring, yes, your 7th level would only have 10 spells.
Well, then I've been doing it all wrong.
Yeah.
Oh, well. I bet it's been working. Yeah. Well, I mean, this is... I've been doing it totally different then.
What are you doing?
I've been basing it off the minimum and maximum number of spells per level on intelligence. So this is what I've been doing with the lower age group that I have. Because I got at least, there's 3 spellcasters in the group. And I've been doing it based off, it's like when they level up, if you want to memorize a spell, if you have access to spell books and what have you, you can memorize that spell. And if your minimum is 7, then you can put minimum of 7 in your spell book. I don't know. I don't know if that's making them more powerful, but I think it's giving more variety.
Variety is what it is.
Yeah.
And because you still can only cast X number of spells per day. So that's how I've been doing it. And the maximum is the maximum, of course. So that's how I've been doing it. And it's been working fine. It's just giving more variety.
Right. Every DM's different.
Yeah.
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 And it hasn't broken anything.
No. So. Yeah, for my current campaign, though, for my magic users, what I did is I said, you're going to know your minimum number of spells at the beginning of the game, so just pick them. However, I will let you roll for a chance to know the other first level spells you do not for your so I had them roll the same check they would if they were copying a spell out of someone else's spell book for each of the other spells until they hit their maximum. Once they hit their maximum, I'm like, okay, that's all the spells you know. So that way I gave them a little bit more variety at the beginning to make up for the fact unless you find spell books during the adventure, you're not going to get a lot of more spells.
Another thing that I do, and it's been working out great, is, let's face it, usually magic users and their ilk really don't hit their stride till they get about 5th level or so. Then they start to get a little bit more variety and more useful spells, particularly on the offensive and defensive nature. So what I've been doing is, and I think I mentioned this past, but I highly recommend trying this out. I give magic users and illusionists a bonus spells per level based off their intelligence, like clerics do with their wisdom, and I use that same wisdom table. So they get, depending on their intelligence, like a 17 in intelligence, they get, 3 bonus first level and 2 maybe bonus second level spells. So I've been doing that, and that makes magic users a little bit more useful at the lower levels.
Yeah.
And it just makes sense to me. Clerics get the bonus for wisdom at a lower level. For spell levels, why not magic users for intelligence? Come on. It's been working okay. I like it.
Good logic.
So, yeah, that's how I kind of see it. Yeah, logic in a game with fairies and dragons and orcs, but hey.
It's an internal logic.
It's an internal logic that conforms to the rules and guidelines of the game world, and I like it, and I'm okay with it. I recommend people trying it out. if you're going to get a whole new campaign, just give it a go, see how that works with the whole intelligence spell bonus thingy. I like it. I think it works.
I've done it when first level you have access, since most magic users have a master or a trainer.
Right.
I usually say that they have access to all the first level spells, but they have to, other than the 4 they automatically get, I say these are the 4 that they practice the most and they were able to get down packed. And then if they want to learn any of the others based on the score of the minimum maximum, I allow them to go down the list and decide if they can get them or not.
Right, yeah.
Second level, I decide that the master has left a secret page in the book. So when they become second level, they're able to read the special ink that he wrote in the book.
Ah, I see.
And they're like, oh my god, second level spell. And there's your one. I do that for third, fourth, things like that.
Oh, that's cool.
Okay.
Yeah, it's kind of like, one of those little goofy things. But as far as gaining spells at second level, most of the time I really don't care. But if I'm in the mood to care, I'll have to make them go buy scrolls or find steal a spell book. That's about it.
So there's some ideas for you out there as far as the minimum, maximum number of spells and how many spells per level. There's all different ways that you probably tinker with that. And I don't think it'll break the system because low-level magic users, when they're below 5th level, they're, first-level magic user with maybe 4 hit points, and what do you have? Magic missile or sleep? Good luck.
The character I was playing in my face-to-face group before I tossed them aside was 2 hit points and 1 spell. I was like, no, because every time we played, all I got to do was hide behind bushes, hide behind the tree. The party went up and fought. He hid behind whatever. Magic missile, then run and hide. It was no fun. No fun whatsoever. Threw a rock once in a while, dart.
Yeah, I was going to say dart. Oh, I can throw 3 of these around. Hooray!
Yes, you were the great magic user coward.
Yeah. I use my staff once in a while. I try to do inventive things like drop rocks, set up traps, things like that. But after a while, it just gets boring.
Yeah, because, you're not feel like you're being a magic user. You're not being a wizard. I mean, there's got to be, a point where it's like, I want to feel like I'm contributing here.
And 2 hit points is just like the wind can blow and you're dead. So
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why at
tree
first...
branch falls, thud.
Yeah, that's why at first I usually just let them have their max hit dice, just to prevent things from...
Most DMs don't do that, unfortunately.
Actually, I do.
Other than you and whatever. Most don't. Some people are like, oh, and by the book, you must roll. Confucius say you must roll.
I do maximum hit points.
Okay. Thank you, DM Scott. This next one comes from DM Angelo. I think it's the same person that wrote the review on iTunes as well. You said his name was what? Archirario or something you said?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, this guy. Hello, DMs and RFI staff. This is DM Angelo Chiarico on the comments, so I assume that's what he means. I would first of all like to thank you for doing this podcast. I am an old school DM from the 80s. When 2E came out, I used pieces of it in our campaign. I DM'd the group for roughly 10 years in the 80s and 90s. Then the group of us stopped playing and went our separate ways for several years. I took a stab at playing 3rd edition for some time, then switched over to DMing 4th edition. Ouch, it hurts to say that. For a few years, I was an Encounters DM at our local gaming store, Game Empire, in Pasadena, California. Cheap pop. Forgotten Realms judge of the local conventions. Oh, cool. And DM'd custom campaigns.
Cool.
I do have to say, the Encounters wasn't that bad. At least it was kind of fun to play a minis game. Anyway, after what seems to be a countless rounds of glorified chess, rule battles over defender auras, and triggered actions, I recently boxed up my books and denounced 4th edition. Hooray! I have since huzzah! I hate that. I have since dusted off my old AD&D books and converted our group to play real D&D. Even though some of our players were introduced to D&D through the recent editions, they have welcomed AD&D with open arms. Wonder why he puts it like that. ADND. It's kind of weird. Thank you a million for having passion for ADND, Angelo.
Because some people don't like to use the ampersand. I don't know.
But he used the ampersand for everything else.
I don't know.
It just confused me why he did that for AD&D as opposed to D&D with the ampersand.
I don't know.
Because if he says AD&D, that means Adventures Dark and Deep. The one that Joseph Block is putting out. That's his abbreviation for it.
Oh. Well, maybe he didn't know that. Well, it doesn't matter. But thank you for the email.
Yes, thank you. In any event. And I guess that's going to conclude the Sage Advice section. And, rfistaff@gmail.com. You can join us on Facebook, facebook.com/RFI Podcast, Twitter, RFI Podcast, or you can call us 570-865-4210, the hotline, where Nick is standing by.
No, he's not.
Fine, there's a cleric with a blunt weapon standing by. Ha!
He's got a battle axe because his god is Thor.
Thor would be a hammer.
That too.
Okay, a mildly confused cleric is standing by.
Whatever.
Table manners next.
Typical. Of all the evil creatures in the world, I'd like to find one with table manners.
And what are you kidding me? I spent years cultivating the worst table manners on the planet.
Table manners.
This is Table Manners, and we're going to be continuing with our review of the Slave Lords modules, our kind of walkthrough, if you will. And we're going to be going on to module E3, the Area of the Slave Lords, Assault on the Area of the Slave Lords by Alan Hammock.
Yeah.
And this was for levels 4 through 7, and it was part of that whole series of Slave Lords modules that were part of the Advanced Dungeons and Dragons tournament at Gen Con 13. So you go back in the Wayback Machine to Gen Con 13, whenever that happened.
Oh, sorry.
So
I have to say, first of all, that picture on the inner cover of the dude choking the one guy and bashing the other guy, that's an amazing feat how he just did that. If you look
on the front of the adventure where he's like, that's the golem.
Yeah. It's just like how he's choking one person and
and hitting the guy with the helm on the other, yes.
That's really awesome. I didn't think anybody can do that.
Yeah, that's because it's a golem. Doesn't know.
Sorry.
Doesn't know it can't do that, so it doesn't.
Doesn't the guy look like he's stabbed in the head, too, on the right?
Yes. The dagger.
I know it's out of his hand, but it looks like he got stabbed in the head.
And that was art by Jeff D. right there, by the way.
Yes, it is. Jeff D. 1980.
So, continuing on with this, what happens in the previous module A2, there's a couple of points where you do, the adventuring party will be able to find a map, a location of where the actual slave lords are hiding out. And this goes on, continuing inside the module here. I'll just read this little blurb here. You are one of the parties that have entered the no man's land that is the Pomarge. And Pomarge, a same part of the World of Greyhawk fantasy campaign setting. In the attempt to track the slavers to their lair, in the course of your adventures, you received information that the next bastion of the slavers was in the Drakensgrab Mountains. After many fruitless attempts at following parties of slaves and slavers, you discovered that they disappeared beneath one great peak in the Drakensgrab Hills. The search has taken you many days of winding through cave and tunnel, seeking the pathway that the slavers use. At last, the choice has been narrowed down to 4 tunnels. One of these must lead to the area of the slave lords. So that's where basically this adventure leaps off from. You've gone through the Drakensgrab mountains and hills, and you're at the point where you and the party are in front of 4 caves, and you have to choose one of the 4 to, go on to what is the actual lair of the slave lords in the actual their hidden city, if you will.
And
now,
one harsh module.
It is. I think in my opinion, this is where the love-hate relationship with these series of modules start.
Mm-hmm.
I think modules A3 and A4 are the ones where people, if they hate it, they're like, yeah, these are the ones where it starts to suck. Or it's like, this is where it becomes the meat grinder and it's a railroad. Well,
it separates the boys from the men on these modules, I'll tell you that.
It does. It does. Absolutely. This is where this is where everybody has to keep in mind that this was written as part of a tournament. So it has to be hard. It has to be a meat grinder. It has to be difficult. So keeping that in mind, you could understand why when you get into these, it is a challenge. And you know what? It should be. But that's why I refer to the first part, the caves, where you're trying to get into the area of the slave lords. I refer to it as the gauntlet, because that's what you're pretty much running through.
Yeah.
And I do find there are a couple of parts where, in a way, are kind of unfair.
Yeah.
I mean, you go through the entry tunnels, and there's 4 entry tunnels, and you can see by the design of this that this whole cave map section is to eat up time in a tournament setting.
Oh yeah,
absolutely, to eat up time. So one of these is a dead end. The other 3, you're going through some winding areas, and then you get to, area A1, the salt slide.
Oh yeah.
And this is where, in my opinion, this one section right off the get-go, I think, is kind of unfair, because you immediately go through this passage, and the floor suddenly drops out after you open the door, and you're going down this slide in the darkness. So,
not even opening the door, Nick. Just going near the door does.
Yes, going near the door. No detect traps here. What about the elves and half elves in the party?
Traps can be found by searching for traps or by magical means, it says.
Okay. So, maybe I did miss that. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, there it is. You're right.
Now, who's going to think about that? I mean.
Well, right. But, elves and half-elves had that innate ability, finding secret doors and what have you. But the thing is, and for the traps as well, that's a dwarf thing as well. But the thing that gets me on the salt slide is that there's a 20% chance per character that you can lose one or both items if you have them in your hands. If you have one in each hand, or one if you're only just one, there's a 20% chance that you'll drop it.
Yeah.
And there's a 75% chance after you drop it, it's lost forever.
Yep.
How is it lost forever?
In the salt?
In the salt, and there's holes that go into a galactic wormhole. I mean,
yes.
Okay.
Didn't you know there was a galactic wormhole below every salt mine?
I guess so.
Yeah. All right. Break.
Yeah, I just thought that was kind of weird. I'm like, okay, you go down the salt thing. Okay, you have a 20% chance to drop it, 75% chance you'll lose it forever. I'm like, what? I just thought that wasn't very. And it gets better. Because I guess there's a combination of the salt and some fungal radiation acts as a slow spell lasting 5 turns.
Yeah, turns.
Not
rounds, turns.
Yeah, which would be, 5 minutes?
Yeah, about.
So that would be 50 combat rounds, roughly, right? No, or if you're going by, be 30 combat rounds.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So neutralize poison or dispel magic will counter the effects. But you try to take the salt away from the slide. It has normal salt properties. If you use a fly spell, or you somehow slide on a shield or something like that, I guess there's a 40% chance if you slide down like on a shield that you will not be slowed. Fly spell, you won't have to worry about it. So,
Yeah.
so off for the get-go, you might be losing your favorite sword or mace and maybe a shield, wand.
Hey, why not?
But you're going to be slowed for 5 turns.
Yeah, and then you fall down there and you do a random encounter and you get a leprechaun. I don't know.
Oh, no. It's almost as bad, but you run into, like, the next room at the end of the slide. What do you run into? A bunch of gnolls who immediately pelt you with arrows.
Yeah.
And get this, remember, you guys are slowed.
Yep.
So they're getting extra attacks on you, which is really fun. And after that, it gets even better. Then you have to deal with trying to find the right way, because there's several dead ends coming out of this room. You go on to room A3, there's the Piercer Cavern, where you're basically dodging piercers of the largest size, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
Then you go from that room to the Hyenodon room, where there's Hyenodons being fed by 5 gnolls. You're going to have to deal with them. But here's my favorite one, the Curtain of Blue Fire.
Yeah.
I love this room. Actually, I really do like this room because it's a trap. You know, so you got this room. It's it looks like 70 feet long by 30 feet wide. There looks like there's a 1 foot wide stone bridge that goes across this room to the other side. Looks like there's also steps going down into this weird kind of amorphous goo. This is bubbling, translucent, whitish goo that's all over at the bottom. It's like 10 feet deep. But there's also a transparent, crackling blue fire that leaps from wall to wall about halfway across the bridge. So this thing is, it's a trap. There's this field of magic that's halfway across. Anybody who tries to walk through it will take 16 points of electrical damage. I guess magical electricity, or if you save for half versus breath weapon. Now, if you cover yourself with the goo and then walk across this stone bridge, you only take half damage. But whenever a character takes damage, regardless if you're covered with the goo or not, you got to make a dex check or you fall in the goo.
Which, may I note, is the first time I've really seen any of them do a dex check with a D20.
Yes, this is probably one of the first places you see that.
Yeah.
Now this goo, now actually when you're crossing, it says the character crossing through the fire without touching the bridge walls are saying, like, if you're trying to, this is so easy, I'll use my fly spell or like boots of levitation or whatever you might have. Well, guess what? You go through this electrical field, you'll take the damage, but everything on you is magically magnetized for 5 turns.
Yeah, try pulling your sword out then.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter if it's a non-ferrous material or not. Everything that is metal is magically magnetized.
Awesome.
That's so great. So what if you go into the goo? It's 10 feet deep. You can swim through the goo if you're unencumbered, but it's like basically like almost swimming through jello or pudding. There's always room for pudding. But the funny thing is this goo is breathable, so you could basically it's some weird magical pudding. It's magic pudding. I don't know.
Get the pudding pop.
It need about zoozabop, it's the pudding pop.
Yeah. You do the Bill Cosby as you go through.
So you go through there, and you have a chance of running into this magic item, the Sword of Lions. It's suspended in the goop. It's an invisible short sword +1.
Ah!
Yes.
And we'll talk about that a little bit later. But
so you'll find out about this sword anyway. We'll talk about it. But if you have this goo on you, the weird thing about it, as it hardens and dries, the next 5 turns, the goo will impair fighting ability, and you will attack and defend at -2. So you're -2 to hit and -2 to your armor class. After 5 turns, though, the stuff turns rubbery, and you can basically peel it off again. But no solvent, water, or oil will get this stuff off of you. So that's the one room right there, the curtain of blue fire. And then there's another cool trap. The hanging rope. That's the next room. Well, you go through that. You're covered with goop. Then you open a door to another room, which looks like it's 50 feet wide and 30 feet long, 50 by 30. And in the center of the room, hanging from the ceiling, is a rope.
Oh, that seems innocent enough.
Oh, yeah. Okay, sure. So you go across, and this is how sneaky this trap is. You pull the rope, the whole floor in the room drops out from under you. And what do you fall into? Acid. 1 to 8 points per round. And the fall does 1 to 6 points because it's a 10-foot drop. So you drop into the acid.
Yeah.
But pulling on the rope is the only way to open the secret door on the other side.
Yeah.
So, unless the only thing I could think of, though, and if I read this correctly,
Mm-hmm.
the only way I could think you could get around this trap is if you don't pull the rope, you detect the secret door, and I think you could try to bash it down. But I think even bashing it will activate the trap because it's the secret door that is the activation of the trap, not the rope.
It's always opening the secret door triggers the floor to fold back against the wall. Yeah, so the door, yeah.
Yeah, so it's the secret door that operates the trap. The rope just opens the door, which then, through the secret door opening, activates the trap of the acid. Oh, joy is that. So you're like, oh, the worst can be behind us. Wrong.
No.
Oh, you're so wrong. So wrong. Whoever designed this, Mr. Hammock, you are an evil, deceitful man. Because the next room, A7, is the stow roper. Dun, dun, dun.
Cousin of Mr. Roper.
Yeah.
Yes. The stow roper, which was a new monster when this was introduced into the module.
Did it
And
go in
get into that little bugger
Yeah.
when we talk about our creature feature theater.
The one thing I wanted to comment about this monster was once it's slain, it may be cut open.
Mm-hmm.
Veal, who would think to cut it open and see if it has something inside of it?
Because ropers are known to have stuff in its gizzard, and if it's related to the roper, I guess you can kind of make that correlation.
Yeah.
Okay, but if you're a player that doesn't read the monster manual books, and
then you got to hope somebody in the party will know.
Right. Either
Because,
that.
you'll cut this thing open.
Yeah.
There's 2 wooden bludgeons, 15 platinum pieces, 5 polished red garnets, but one of the garnets is actually a gem of seeing. The wooden bludgeons and the gem of seeing are critical to what happens later on in the caves.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But this is one of those, it's like most adventure modules, there are things that you find, maybe magic items or not magic items, that might be useful later on in the adventure. In this case, it's the 2 wooden bludgeons and the gem of seeing.
Yeah.
If a DM was going to be a little kind, you could almost make the argument, well, through the course of hacking it up and killing it, there's a little bit of a gaping hole, and you see a shimmer coming from this gaping wound.
Yeah, I guess it all depends on how, as a DM, how you would play that. I guess that would be a good.
That was just a point of view looking for players that don't know that. So
Right. Especially considering it has a plot item that's like
two plot
items. As a DM, I would throw in just something to give them an idea. Look inside the stoper or the storoper. Storoper.
Yeah.
Okay. Mr. Roper.
Yeah. That's Mrs. Roper right now. So. So the next one gets even worse.
Yes. I love this next one too. The spiked door. So you got another room, and by the way, as you're going through all this, folks, if you don't have the adventure, there's all these false
doors everywhere.
Yeah, I mean it's winding caves. There's false entries, and there's dead ends all over the place. There's got to be at least 10 dead ends in this area, and some of them are cutbacks too.
This one is my favorite one, only for the simple fact that the last line on the trap says, "You can."
Yes, I love that
against the door.
Right.
It's like we carry dead bodies around all the time.
Yeah. So this one is, you go into this room and it looks like it's all wood, but there's all these like knot holes that are in this wood now. Basically, it's a wooden room inside a stone room, and there's the one door, I believe, that you do if you see it.
Yeah.
And if you just barrel your way through it, you're going to get hit with spikes. But if you're smart enough, you can pull the knot holes out. You can see the spikes that come through the knot holes in there. One way that you get away from the trap, I guess what happens is you barrel your way through. This door actually is on rollers, and it goes into the spiked door.
Yeah.
So once the trap is sprung, the door may be safely opened. Or, like Vince was saying, the trap may be sprung harmlessly. For example, by throwing a dead body against them.
I guess you use the stove for that.
I can just imagine, hey, Joe, you got that dead body over there? Well, yeah, sure, okay. Thump.
Yeah, after all these traps, one member of the party's almost dead. You're like, well, you're not dead yet, but you will be soon. Push into the door.
Mostly dead.
Yeah.
Who blave? And then you get the final room, the throne room. Now, initially when you go in this room, for one, it's huge.
Oh, yeah.
And another thing I like about this module is that there are some tactical maps that can be used specifically for those areas in the cave maps, the cave map, to where it gives a little bit more a closer view of what's going on inside each area, particularly what's going on in this final room, the throne room. So go into this throne room area, and what happens is there's all these different pillars, and there's a throne. And on the throne, what appears to be, it looks like the Knoll god you-know-who sitting on this throne. Now, I don't know about you, but if I was a character from 4th, 5th, 6th level, whatever, I would be crapping in my codpiece in my pants right now.
Well, yeah.
So
7 foot tall.
Yeah, he's got, but this is all an illusion. It's all an illusion. Basically, there's this illusionist named Wimpel Frump. What a name. Yeah. He's an 8th level illusionist. He's cast all these different illusions, and apparently this throne that he's sitting upon actually helps create a lot of these illusions in this throne room. He was hired by the slave lords to, in case anybody wants to try to get to their secret hideaway in the city of Sunderham. He apparently gets paid good cash to keep these people away. Oh, he's got all these gnolls that appear to be there, but they're not. There's some gnolls that are hidden by invisibility. There's an ankylosaurus, which is not an ankylosaurus, and that's why I love the back of this module. The Errol Otis picture of the ankylosaurus attacking the adventuring party. I just love that picture. That's so great.
Yeah, but what is it really, Nick?
It's a rust monster. So, and these are not just illusions. These are actually spectral forces, so they cannot be simply dispelled by disbelieving.
Yeah, they cover all bases here.
Yeah, you got to use that gem of seeing where you hopefully found it in the Stow Roper, right?
Yeah.
Ah. So I guess a dispel magic would work too, but the gem of seeing would help tremendously. And going up against a rust monster, those 2 wooden bludgeons that you maybe found in the Stow Roper might help too.
Yeah.
Huh. Funny how that kind of works together, huh?
Yeah, especially considering you probably already lost your weapons on the salt slide.
Yeah. Isn't that great? And it gets even better. There's this wall. There's a wall of glass between you and the illusionist. So, and it's impervious to normal missile weapons. So no bolts, no arrows, unless they're magical, can pierce this thing. Magic spells can go through it. Or it's impervious to physical missiles. So I don't even think even magical arrows could go through. But you can blast this thing down with a lightning bolt, a magic missile, fireball. This is a great room the fireball thing's in, by the way, folks. It's big enough.
Yeah.
So, in this illusional Ankylosaurus, I could just imagine it bites into somebody and their armor immediately starts to rust away. You know, that they're like, people will be go, oh my God, what kind of dinosaur is this? And I believe if also Wimperl, he can cast any of his spells while he's on the throne at double the spell range. So he's got a lot of range on his spells. He's got fear, paralyzation, blur, blindness, and the ever popular color spray.
Yeah, they have some good strategy there for him.
Yeah, they do. Some very good strategy here for this guy. This room, if not played out correctly, can be really nasty. In my opinion, you go in this room, if we had a magic user in the party, I hope to God he's got fireball or lightning bolt or something that's area effect that can just wipe out stuff. Because this is where you want to hit it hard and hit it fast. You don't want to waste time. And that's another thing. This is being a tournament module. It's going to eat up time. So, and then you finally get to go on to the next section, which would be the hidden city of Sunderham. So that's the cave map. So, and apparently when this was all done as a tournament, this was part of the first 3 rounds, or the first round of the tournament. Modules A1, A2, and the first part of this module, A3. Each of those rounds were 3 hours. Mm-hmm. So then you had a semi-final round, which was parts B and C of this module, and then the final round, which was module A4. So that kind of answers the question, is like, how long were these first rounds? And they were scheduled for 3 hours, so they had plenty of time. Basically what happens is, I guess the first rounds, what it sounds like to me, if they were all scheduled like on the same day, you had multiple groups, and depending on which group you were in, you were either playing through module A1, module A2, or A3 part A. That's how it kind of sounds like it was playing out as. I'm not sure, but that's just some tournament background there. So, guys, any comments so far?
I've been constantly commenting and interrupting, so
yeah. I mean, that little stretch of trap room after trap room, I'm like, Grimtooth would be proud.
Oh, yeah, and I got all the Grimtooth books, and I look at that, and I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
This is why I said it separates the men from the boys, because this module here, this part here, this is part A right here, which goes to part B. This is where they want to get rid of the people and start narrowing it down to that group of players that can go to the next round.
Absolutely. You hit the nail on the head. That's why I termed that first part the gauntlet, because you're literally running a gauntlet.
Oh yeah.
And having personal experience of being in tournaments on both sides of the GM screen. Yeah, there is a portion of the tournament where you're going to be in a running the gauntlet kind of situation where, you know, you got 3, maybe 4 hours tops of the tournament, and time is ticking away, and you better be quick. You better be quick thinking, and just basically you're trying to blow through it. So after you go through all of that, after you're covered with goo, maybe dropped an acid, getting your keister scared off to you, which would probably have been an ankylosaurus, you finally get to the hidden city of Sunderham. Now, this section's a bit more laid back, at least in my opinion. The Sunderham section is not only a little bit more laid back, but it also seems like it's an unfinished part that could be like a mini campaign area. This city of Sunderham, as I read through it, would be a great mini campaign setting for people who like to play thieves or maybe, you know, evil characters or some other unsavory types. I kind of thought of it as like, it's like almost like if you recall the Thieves World stuff that was done by Chaosium back in the day, which was highly popular, and I'm kicking myself in the butt for never getting. But
it's also a very good example if you want to design your own town. Look here.
Oh yeah, there's lots of stuff in this Sunderham area that is left up to the DM to fill in, and part as goes into with whole tournament being with time constraints. So you get through the pass in the Drakensgrab Mountains, and then you get to the Aerie in what is an extinct volcanic peak, Mount Flammenblut, in the small city of Sunderham. Flammenblut. Somebody like German here. Somebody like to take this Mount Flammenblut and Sunderham. Yeah. It's so good. Okay.
Yeah. Sounds good.
On to the tournament notes in the city of Sunderham. But it's rather small.
It's kind of I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know if you'd really call it a city. It's a town.
It has a lot of stuff in it though.
But it does. It's chock full of stuff. Most of it, like I said, left up to the DM to fill in. But there is some notes on shops, on money changer, and guard patrols, and that's all illustrated on the DM's maps where the guard patrols go through, and the different areas. I'm just gonna highlight just a few areas of this of Sunderham. Besides, you got the main gate, the guard towers you got to go through. There's a slave auction area. One of my favorite parts in this is the different taverns and inns that are part of it. And there are taverns and inns that cater to specific character classes.
Yep.
Like the Fighting Man's Haven, which obviously caters to fighters and their type.
Yeah.
There's this... Yeah?
I was going to say, if you're the wrong class and go in, you get treated like crap.
Yeah, I love that. So there's the sign of the grimacing gargoyle. That one's just for your standard for anybody to go into. The waltzing werebear that goes. I love the names of these places. The inn, the sign of the white knight. Now some of these shops, if they look around, they are closed, like the food store, the trinket shop, armor shop. For tournament play, it's closed. Now, it doesn't mean they couldn't be open even for campaign use. That's why I said, like, for a campaign, why not give a few lines for that food store or the trinket shop so they can go to it?
Yeah, but it's kind of a waste of time, most of the stuff.
Yeah, it is. But, you could always, if you wanted to as a DM, you could fill in, maybe just put NPC that runs that store and just go by the prices in the player's handbook for what they have to buy. There's the flop house there. Everybody knows what a flop house is. It's just a place where you can go and sleep it off when you have to. I love the Thieves Guild has been closed down recently by the constables, but the Assassins Guild is in full swing.
Yeah.
It's because one of the slave lords is an assassin.
For tournament purposes, there will be no one in the building and nothing of interest can be found.
Here's one for you magic users. There's a tavern called the Sign of the Magic Missile. So that's a magic user only tavern.
Yeah, so magic user only.
There's also there's with the different quarters and those are just the ones out of the Thieves Quarter, which there's no Thieves Guild for it anymore. So go figure.
Mm.
So you have the Thieves Quarter, you have the official quarter where you have the maps and charts library. And also when you're going through this, depending on what places that you go to, you might find hints or clues to other places in Sunderham, whoever you bribe. And it's generally around 50 gold pieces, whoever you got to bribe to get this information and find out where you really need to go and get to the sewers, so you can find out where the actual slave lords are hiding out.
Yeah.
So you have a lot in the official quarter. Most of it's closed, like the Fighters Guild,
It's deserted.
Yeah, there's just little warehouses there. The one thing I found that was interesting that they did not elaborate on is if you look B35, the Temple of the Earth Dragon.
Yeah.
I thought that was interesting that they didn't really elaborate on this particular area. And I was like, okay, what is the Temple of the Earth Dragon? What sort of... What are you talking about as far as a different religion? I mean, I'm kind of curious on where they're maybe going to go with that. There's like a first level cleric there, and that's it.
Yeah,
So-
he can really tell you nothing, probably.
Yeah, and I just thought that was kind of odd. So, in my opinion, I would probably put a little bit more information involved with this Temple of the Earth Dragon, or make it some other temple. You know, being in the World of Greyhawk campaign setting, I would make it probably some evil deity associated with the World of Greyhawk. Because I looked through the rest of the module, I can't find anything really associated with this Temple of the Earth Dragon, what the Earth Dragon is supposed to be.
I didn't see it either.
Yeah. So that's like part of the official quarter. Then you have the military quarter where there's slave cells, stables, officers' quarters, the garrison for the whole for the garrison armory, the barracks. And don't go into the barracks, folks, unless you have official business, because there are 600 soldiers inside the barracks. 100 of them are at least second level, so the other 500 are probably first level fighters. I don't care what level you are. That's a lot of fighters to deal with. And then you have the wealthy quarter. You have a wizard's guild there.
Of course.
There's different residences that they just give one sentence to. There's a residence where there was a home of a prosperous merchant. There's another home of a wealthy cleric. Maybe, he uses blunt weapons or not. Who's to say?
Pretty sure he does.
Well, maybe he doesn't.
I think I see an invisible line there with invisible ink that says with blunt weapons.
Yes. But there's also the Slave Lord Stronghold.
Oh, yeah.
You can try to go there, but the compound is garrisoned by entirely of second-level fighters.
And
there are other first-level guards, and there are 4 Minotaur lizards.
Yes.
There's a further detachment of 160 first-level and 40 second-level soldiers, which can be called upon if needed from inside the Slave Lord Citadel itself, which will be commanded by a 7th-level magic user and an 8th-level cleric. Don't go to the stronghold and be stupid.
Yeah.
Just find the secret way there.
Oh,
yeah. Which there is. There are actually 2 different ways to get to the actual, I guess, hidden secret lair, star circle, star chamber kind of place where the slave lords are.
Secret lair.
My secret lair. And there's 2 secret hatches, if you will. You can either stumble upon them in an abandoned residence.
Mm-hmm.
And there's the one in area C13.
B13.
Or B13, I'm sorry. Which is a house of ill repute, the sign of the rose. And there are certain people that if you do in taverns or inns, if you bribe them like the 50 gold pieces, like I said, they will kind of lead you to this, basically, a bordello.
Mm-hmm.
So, and you know what? Fine. There's a room in the bordello where I think you move a rug. Or under the bed, there's a trapdoor entrance and a secret passage leading to the catacombs. Same thing in Area 68, B68. There is this abandoned residence, but is deserted, but still furnished inside. It looks like it's inhabited, though. There's a door to the entrance to the underground in the master bedroom.
Mm-hmm.
The interesting thing is, in the description of this abandoned residence, it says, although the clues in this module point towards the other secret entrance at the sign of the rose, it is remotely possible that the party might stumble upon this passageway. If this happens, it's quite all right to let them proceed to part C of this module. After all, luck is a part of the game too. So I love that. So, hey, they could stumble upon it here too. Who knows? It says the second passageway exists because the slave lords never allowed themselves to be backed into a corner. They always more than the one way into or out of wherever they go. And it kind of makes sense.
I do have to point out that this C area to the catacombs is where it really gets rough again.
Yes, it does. This where, yeah, if you thought this is like Gauntlet Part 2 now.
Yeah.
So, like, you got the cave map. Okay, yeah, that was hell. Then you go into Sunderham where you're trying to find the entrance to the catacombs. That's kind of a slight pause if you play things right. And then you get to the sewers, which is really fun, too. Because you get to the first area, the Guardian area, where it is a flesh golem covered with pieces of iron, which give it better armor class.
Yeah.
And these iron plates, probably people are saying, oh man, it's an iron golem, we're all going to die, because it has a magic mouth upon it, and it says, flee now, or I shall breathe poison death upon you all. So that might even clue people in the morning saying, it is really an iron golem, because we're going to all die with its poison breath, but it isn't. It's a really disguised flesh golem, which is great. Yes. Well, you got the concealed door that you'll be able to find. Then there's that pit trap. I love this pit.
Another one.
And this pit trap it's the not pit trap.
Yeah.
So you're going along this corridor. There's a pit trap. And this is what the DM's supposed to read. Party moves down the corridor, a 10 by 10 pit, 7 feet deep, suddenly appears on the first rank of characters. Immediately, a large section of stone on the north wall of the corridor slides down, revealing a 1 foot long brass nozzle from which whooshing sounds emerge. And it says in the adventure, you give each player character one action of what they're going to do. Basically, are you going to jump in the pit? You're going to jump over the pit? Or are you going to duck behind in the corridor? You give them one action. jumping into the pit or over it to the other side is the right thing to do. Because the bottom of the pit is covered with nice soft sand.
Yeah.
Oh.
If you don't, you're going to get hit with a jet of flame. For damage or save yourself. So if you jump over the pit to the other side, you're safe.
Yeah.
Anybody within that 30, 40 foot stretch of corridor, you're going to get hit with flame. Now this is where this is where I ran into problems when I ran into the Hackmaster version.
Oh, okay.
Because at the bottom of the pit there's that secret door, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Now, it does say there's now let everybody know there's a secret door at the bottom of the pit.
Spoiler alert.
Now, it says the slave lord will open a secret door in one wall of the pit, which can be open only with a special ring that only the slave lords have, and would escape to the council chamber, C9. Now, who's to say that you can't bash the door open?
Nothing.
Exactly.
It doesn't say anything at all about that. It just says secret door.
Right. This is the only way you can open it is with that ring. But who's to say you can't bash the door down? Right?
Let's see. Slivers only with secret door wall pit. Yeah, it doesn't say there's like a stone wall or it just says secret door.
Yeah. The only thing is, in a tournament, you wouldn't be able to bash it down because it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Actually,
yeah,
right there below it. Yeah.
Yeah, for tournament purposes, the secret door does not exist.
Not exist in the tournament. If you're running this as a campaign,
so there's no reason you couldn't be able to bash it down, and I think that's why they put that line in for the tournament purposes.
Right.
It does not exist because otherwise, you could just bash the door down and go straight to C9.
Right. Yeah, this is the shortcut, basically. This is the Easter egg, if you will, in the whole thing. If you're running this as a campaign, which I did, I ran the Hackmaster version, smacked down the slave lords. They found the secret door in the pit. They bashed it down. They went one way towards one secret door, then they went to the other ones. Oh, they found the slavers. Ta-da! And that's where the fun began. I'll get back to that, though. I'll tell you how that turned out. But continuing on, so you have that pit trap, the not pit trap, if you will. Then you go to the killer mimic lair. Where mimic on the south end of this wall. And, killer mimic, yes, nasty.
But not as nasty as the next couple rooms.
Oh. Then you got to go through the hallway where there's the hellhounds that are hiding in secret compartments along the hallway.
Oh, yeah, that's bad, but it gets worse.
Oh, are you talking about the Minotaur?
Yeah, the Minotaur Menace.
Yes. And you have a slight twisty-turny area where you have basically a Minotaur, which he's essentially shooting you with a ballista.
Picture's scary looking.
Behind, and you got to open all these doors and stuff like that. It's twisty-turny and all that stuff like that. There's this Minotaur who's, he's playing sniper with a ballista, and there's various points along this way where he's going to hit you, but you won't be able to shoot back. Yeah. So, and that's 1 to 12 points of damage each time if a ballista bolt hits you. So basically, it's a ballista. That's how I kind of looked at it. They say it's a large crossbow, too large for a human to wield. Okay, he's using a ballista.
Oh yeah.
But eventually, you'll be able to fight the Minotaur. You get some pretty good loot. He's got a battle axe +2. Got a dust of disappearance.
50 platinum.
50 platinum pieces. 3 gems worth 250 gold. And 400 electrum pieces. I know how much you love electrum.
But also note that his axe you can't lift unless you have a strength of 16 or better.
Yeah. So it's a big old battle axe.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't know if I would give more damage than a normal battle axe on that or not. But
I don't know.
one of the things in the Minotaur area is there is a very ingenious trap, the Perilous Portal. Now, basically, there's a secret door, and on this, if you find the secret door written in, I guess, runes that can be deciphered by a thief or by a magic user with comprehend languages, it says "Danger, no entry." This is a one-way door; it can only be opened from the actual sewer side. But who's to say you can't bash it down? If you do touch the door, though, you take a massive jolt of 24 points of electrical damage. I mean, you could save for breath weapon for half. Now, this isn't magical. This is an actual electrical damage by a primitive battery called a Leyden jar. And if I remember correctly, this Leyden jar, it comes from real history. So it's a real, basically you're getting zapped by a car battery here.
My only concern about this part is how you said you could just bash it down.
Yeah.
Well, if you read it, it says you really can't. If you take it literally by the words.
Right. It's a one-way door, but
it can only be open from the other side. So that means you cannot open it unless you're on the other side.
Well, I guess
I
guess you could break it open, though.
Well, is it one way because of mechanical reasons, or is it one way because of magic?
Mechanical. I would assume mechanical because it doesn't say magical.
That's where I was confused too when I was reading this. I'm like,
I think as a see, this is where you get one of those areas in a tournament where I've experienced, and I think this is really good knowledge for people. If you ever get into a tournament, if you're either running one or being a DM in one of these tournaments and you're going to the guy who's running the thing, it's where you have a powwow before the tournament. And you say, hey guys, you have any questions on these areas? You want some clarifications? This is probably one area where, as a person who's running the tournament, you would say, okay, this is what we should probably rule this as. This is either a mechanical trap, or it opens mechanically this way, or magically. What do you guys think? Maybe have consensus, say, okay, it's mechanical or whatever it may be. But as long as everybody's on the same page for the tournament. Now, as a DM in a regular campaign, it's entirely up to you how you want to do it. That's the real important thing between tournaments and standard adventure modules is everybody has to be on the same page of how certain things work. And if there's clarification needed to be done, those powwows before the tournament is run are very, very important. So, yeah, that's a really good point. It's not really clear if it's mechanically you can only open it one way, or is it magical you can only open it one way. So, I don't know. But it does say that if you didn't already discharge the trap, the thief can safely discharge it by doing a remove traps on it. So, then it better. You have cunning gelatinous cubes you got to run into. I love gelatinous cubes. They aren't used enough. There's a room where I guess you walk into and there's a 10 by 20 foot area on the floor where it's actually a gelatinous cube.
Yeah.
And you fall into that.
And it launch out at you, too.
Yeah. If you kill it, its buddy comes by and tries to fill up that spot.
Yeah. So
I love the gelatinous cubes there. And you have this grotto of terror that's next, where it's like a cavern with a lake that you can try to go across by basically cutting the mushroom caps off this fungal forest and swim across that way. You basically use the caps of the mushrooms as boats.
Little Jules Verne there for you.
Yeah, well, a little. And one of the, in my opinion, one of the nastiest creatures in D&D, the Shambling Mound. Now, it doesn't say where B is on the map. Did anybody ever find it? Because it says C7A and C7B. I could never find B, but I believe it's that dotted line area along the shoreline there. If you walk along that shoreline in the grotto, you'll run into the Shambling Mound. So, and one of the things they also didn't clarify in the module, if you destroy the Shambling Mound, one of the magic items is a sword +2. Well, what kind of sword is it? A broadsword, a bastard sword, a longsword? What?
Oh yeah, sword +2.
Yeah, it doesn't say. I would just say a longsword.
Standardly, if you go by BX rules, it'd be a longsword translation.
Right? 70% are longswords, something like that.
Yeah.
This that you got these snakes, constrictor snakes you might run into, and then you finally get to the crux of the whole thing. This is
and read before continuing spot with big black letters.
box and like what is it, 16 point stop, read before continuing or you'll explode.
Yeah.
So there's two different ways you could go around this. There's either the tournament version or the non-tournament version. The tournament version, what happens is, this is the Council of the Slave Lords, the council chamber. And you have various slave lords that are basically sitting upon thrones in this chamber. Why they're just sitting there, I don't know. Maybe they're arrogant jerks, but that's just me.
They're having lunch.
Yeah. So the slave lords are, there is a Jack Stew who sits on throne number 1. He's a magic user. He's 9th level, by the way. There is Nereias. He's an assassin. He sits on throne 3. He's an 11th level assassin. Fetia, she is a fighter. She sits on throne 5. She's a 10th level fighter. Yes, brother Millerjol, he's a monk. He's a 9th level monk from the Scarlet Brotherhood. And you have Mor Dramu, who sits on throne 9. He is the 11th level cleric who's head of this church, evil high priest of that earth dragon, wherever that may be. Yeah. So what happens here, and this is where people feel like this is railroading.
Well, it's that way for a reason, because it leads to A4. That's why it gives you that big black box saying, warning.
You have to have the party captured if you're using this as a tournament module.
Right.
Absolutely. So this is where what happens is, as the tournament, the party enters the council chambers rooms. They see all these people sitting down, and they're looking at them, they're laughing at them. And then a stone wall, 20-foot, suddenly a wall of stone drops 20 feet down the corridor, blocking all hope of retreat. As you're struggling to free yourself from the trap, there's also an invisible wall of force in a 10-foot radius, a hemisphere inside the room, or radius hemisphere from the door. So you try to get through the door, there's a wall of force. You try to struggle to free yourself. There's a vial of fluid that comes through the ceiling. Through the ceiling, when it opens up, there's a gas that comes out, and everybody falls asleep.
I like the two scenarios. If the party loses, if the party wins.
Yeah. Now that's where the difference lies. If you're running this as a part of your campaign, what happens is, and this gets a little bit complicated. As a non-tournament version, you run into the slave lords. They've been watching your whole exploits through a crystal ball with clairaudience.
Yeah.
So they know everything that you've done.
Yes.
The cleric, Mordramu, will prepare to use his word of recall and his ring of spell storing to escape. And it says the DM must allow Mordramu to escape. He appears again in Module A4, which I don't have a problem with. As soon as things start to go, as soon as round 1, I would have him to do his word of recall. He's gone. Okay, that's cool.
Well,
now,
in actions, tell him he actually attacks.
Yeah, I would just have him leave right from the get-go. That's how I would run it. I mean, I don't think he would stick around. I think if he has to appear in the next module, he's going to leave.
Okay, I see your point.
So there are recommended actions for each slave lord to do from rounds 1 through 4, if it lasts that long, because these guys are high level.
Yeah.
You know, 9th, 10th, 11th level, and you're running up. If you're lucky, your party members are 6th, 7th level at the most. But it even says in the module here, if the party wins, congratulations are due. That's quite a group of players there.
Yeah.
The iron staircase leads to building B-59, the slave lord's stronghold hidden in the city. If the party tries to go that way, they'll almost certainly be killed or captured. Because what's in the stronghold? You got a couple hundred fighters. After this fight, you're going to be so worn down. You're going to get captured anyway. So, yeah, it's a nasty fight that can happen here. Now, as a side note, when running the Hackmaster version, Smack Down the Slave Lords, this is what happened to me. They found that secret doorway I told you about from the pit trap.
Yeah.
They go down the sewer right to where the slave lords are. Their inner sanctum.
Right.
Okay? One of the players, I'm doing a shout out for my buddy Gary out there. Hi, Gary. Who's playing a multi-classed, half elf magic user cleric.
Oh God. Okay.
Blade. Because I remember Chip. He's a great character. He had I trying to remember what he found, a scroll with a monster summoning on it somewhere along the way. It was like Monster Summoning 3.
Ooh.
2 or 3. So as soon as they saw the slave lords, he cast Monster Summoning 2. I can't. I think it was 2. Might have been 3. It's the Hydra on it.
Yikes.
So he summoned a Hydra to attack the slave lords. He gets better than that because there's a little mechanic in Hackmaster where you can use your honor die to boost certain things. He could burn 10 points of his honor to use his honor die, which he did. He basically made this Hydra like a 16-headed Hydra, which made it 16 hit dice.
Jeez.
And they left the room and had them fight the Hydra.
And they won.
Yeah, they won. They summoned the Hydra, 16 heads, bye. Killed the slave lords.
End of module.
I'm like, damn it, damn it, damn it. That's how they dealt with it. So, either way, what's going to happen at the end of the module, if you're going to continue with module A4, they're going to get captured. Either way, they're getting captured.
Well, yeah, if they die, they have even if the party loses. So as soon as Eddie comes back and what's his name, Border Drama, whatever his name is, and cast Raise Dead on the Slade party members to torture or interrogate them.
Right. So even if you're dead, you come back as he raises dead on you guys.
For A4.
Yeah. So this is where like I was saying before, this is where people have a little bone of contention with this module. They think this is where the whole adventure starts to break down because, well, that's not fair. They can't get out of that. Well, you know what? It was a tournament adventure.
Yeah.
It had to be railroady in that respect. And you know what? Even in, at least how I feel about it, even as used in a regular campaign, I think that adds a bit of drama. And who's in a sense of urgency and fear, and hopefully get the. I love to end the module on that note. I mean, it reminds you like some of those best points you watch in your favorite shows, where it's like to be continued, and everybody like, no, what's going to happen next? What are we going to do now? We've been captured. What's going to happen to us? Mm-hmm. I love it for that point. Some people don't. Some people, they don't like that they're steered into this particular direction of this adventure. But you got to look for it for what it is. If that's not your style of play, that's fine. Then play sandbox. That's okay too. But for how this was designed, for what it does, it works. I think it adds a bit of urgency and drama and fear into the player characters at the very end. If they do defeat them or not, they're getting captured, and who knows what's going to happen next. So that's the assault on the area of the slave lords.
Interesting module.
Yeah.
I like this one because it really is. You have to really think instead of just go running in and killing everything. Absolutely. This is where you have, that first part, the gauntlet, and then you have the middle part where you got to really think about how you're going to get into the catacombs, into the sewers, and then you got the sewer part where hopefully you can either defeat the slave lords or, I don't know, maybe run away. But it's a darn good adventure. I could see why there are some people that do not like this series of modules. I can understand that, because those are the type of people, for the most part, they like a more open, more sandbox type campaign environment, and that's okay. Yeah, but it's a module.
But more importantly, it's a tournament module, because you can have sandboxy-esque modules that are a little more freeform, where it's not point A, point B, point C. You can go, in some modules, you can go to any one of those points at any time.
Right.
But in a tournament module, it has to be very rigid.
Has to be.
Yeah.
Right. Because there are time constraints.
Right.
You have 3, maybe 4 hours max for a tournament per round. You have to get hopefully everything accomplished in that time and get the most points for your group so you can go on to the next round. Now, that's how it is. So you can't really balk these guys for what they did. And keeping that in mind, what you're trying to do as far as time constraints and make not only a compelling story and make interesting traps and adventures, I think the whole Slave Lord series, I think, does it extremely well. See, comes the Slave Lords are coming to get me.
Yeah.
Never fails.
Yeah. Because you were going to be captured no matter what happened during this episode.
Oh, yeah. No matter what. And that's okay. I'm okay with that, because a good DM will use that as a great part of the plot and is really, truly testing the players and the player characters.
Right. And I think, more importantly, in a home game, the players won't know they were going to be captured no matter what. I think just keeping that bit of information is from the players is key. Because even if no matter what they did, just because of the situation, they were probably going to be captured, if they know that, it bothers them more than, well, there was a chance we just missed it. Well, not really.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think it makes a great story arc for any campaign if you do it right. I mean, what do you think, Vince?
Duh.
No,
I like this module. And the end is well put together, I think, and I like how if the party loses, what happens, and the transition to A4 is the best thing I can think of myself. So
yeah, and I can't wait to get into A4 because I think of the three, that's the one I'm least familiar with. So I can't wait to tear into that one again.
And technically, A4 is the only hard copy I have of the module too.
Oh, I was lucky to come across all four of them years ago for sale for like dirt cheap.
Well, I got A4 for like $2 at half price.
Nice.
Decent condition too. So
it's like the thinnest of the all four of them, isn't it? It's only like what 16 pages.
It is. No, it's actually with the monsters and everything, 28 pages.
So I know it's it's got the least amount to it, but that one, yeah, that's where it's really a test.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, very cool stuff, guys.
Let's head into Creature Feature Theater.
Are you saying that I put an abnormal brain into a 7.5-foot long gorilla?
Creature Feature Theater.
It's alive! It's alive!
And now we're in the Creature Feature Theater, and we're going to be talking about the older, bigger, and stonier brother of the Roper, the Stroper. Not to be confused with a stoned Roper. It is a stone Roper, albeit you may be stoned after being hit by it. But we'll get into that a little later. The stone Roper.
One thing about this,
yeah,
I love the illustration.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I love this illustration. It's just, if you're listening, Mr. Willingham, awesome stuff.
Yeah, but the stone Roper, when you first look at it, it just looks like a stone statue of a Roper, as opposed to the normal Roper.
It wash itself down like a Roper can it?
No. No. Yeah, because it actually has a silicon-based, like, rock-like body, and it senses movements up to 200 feet away, and it will be still resembling a statue. So, in other words, you're not going to surprise it. No matter what you do, when you look at the size of the room it's in, that 200 feet extends far into every other adjacent area. So, no sneaking up on this thing.
Nasty 6 attacks to D10 damage. Ooh.
Yeah.
But I think that D10 is only from its bite.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah. But, yeah. And once the players get within 50 feet of it, that's when it attacks. Mm-hmm. It prefers to attack 2 victims at once with each of its 3 tentacles. So they'll each have 3 tentacles coming at it. And the first 2 that are successfully hit, they get drugged by the Stroper's venom. No saving throw either. You will be drugged, and you will like it.
And they'll get stoned.
Yes. And as a result of this, they will now... First, they'll appear to be petrified for a round. But then, after a round, they get better, and then they're stoned. And go to aid the Stroper for the rest of the encounter. So your party's going to lose 2 members during this combat. So, yeah. And it's also, since this is a time tournament module, even after you killed the Stroper, those players will wander aimlessly for 10 rounds.
Yeah. So they're literally stoned.
Yeah, so they'll just be wandering aimlessly. So at that point, you're going to be trying to herd cats. So, yeah.
I'd never heard it put that way, but that is so well put.
Yeah. And then just when you start thinking of what room comes next, the last thing you want is just two people that are wandering aimlessly.
Oh, my God. It's like a bunch of drunken hobbits.
Yes. Yeah, the reason the Stroper doesn't inject more people with this drug, it can only do it twice a day. To 2 victims a day. After that, its attacks are just of a normal Roper. Each hit by a tentacle causes weakness, 50% loss of strength for 1d3 rounds. And then each round a victim, and then when they're hit, each round they're dragged 10 feet closer. And then then this is why they have all that stuff in them, because they drag them with their tentacles and then eat you and your stuff. They're not picky.
Right.
Yeah. The chance.
And they have
Yeah. And the chance to break these tentacles is double the character's base chance to bend bars and lift grates.
And you're weakened.
Yes. Yeah.
If this is designed as a party killer, I don't know what is.
Yeah, and if you're thinking, oh well, I'll just stay outside of 50 feet and we'll just lob arrows at it. Well, there's a slight problem with that. Normal missile fire will not injure the Stroper, but magic missiles and normal or magical handheld weapons will. So yeah, you have to get within its tentacle range. Your magic user won't have enough spells to kill this. Yeah, all spells, including those with lightning, cold, and fire, do normal damage. Once dead, that's when you can pry open the Stroper using a chisel or an iron spike. Yeah. Inside the gizzard, you may find a few coins and a small number of gems as well, hence the items shown. Yeah, it's just, the picture's great, sums it up perfectly. It's going to be grabbing characters. It's going to be throwing them around. And
I noticed something about the picture. I'm sorry to interrupt. But
that's right.
Now, how do you guys know that a lot of the artists, I know Jeff D., I think Bill Willingham as well.
Yeah.
They like to throw little Easter eggs in some of their artwork, especially stuff that's related to superheroes.
Yeah.
Look at the guy who's being held by the Storoper.
Looks like Black Cat.
Kind of looks like, or I was thinking, kind of looked like Nightcrawler.
Yeah, from the his gloves, the way they flare out, the tight. Other than the flaring, whatever.
And the sword.
Yeah, the rapier sword. Mm-hmm. He's got he's very much like.
I found one of the Easter eggs. Yeah. I'm not sure on that.
Yeah,
but I know there was other ones on the other modules that they kind of threw that in.
Yeah, because even if you look at the feet, they're very Nightcrawler-esque. The only thing that makes it not Nightcrawler is the lack of a tail and the furry boots.
Right. I don't know. I'm sorry. I just noticed that.
But that's now that I'm like, that is Nightcrawler.
Yeah.
Because it's pointy. It's an elf too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's other Easter eggs like that. I think it's in Vault of the Drow. If you look at not the cover art but the first page art, there's a treasure chest. It has Captain America's shield and and it looks the helm. It looks like Iron Man's helmet.
Awesome.
Nice.
There's other ones like that around. I think this might be one of them. I'm not sure, but it could be. I don't know. I don't know. How would you use this guy besides, a potential TPK?
Yeah. Well, I could. What's your thoughts on having him hang out with some of his just regular Roper brethren?
Oh, that would just be nasty.
Yes, you have a bunch of Ropers surrounding what looks like a Roper statue, so you think it's some sort of Roper cult.
Oh, nice.
And then all of a sudden the statue attacks you.
You know what I would do? I don't know if other people on the podcast have gone on to this. One of the things I like to do is I like to pair up monsters with other ones. and like the ones with his Roper brothers, his Roper cousins.
Yeah.
I could think of like just in the same module. I'd like to put this Stow Roper in an area where there's a bunch of piercers.
Yeah.
You know, they're wandering aimlessly, and piercers are coming down on them.
Right.
I could see this paired up with piercers in a cavern.
And a piercer wouldn't hurt a stone roper.
No, in a way, ecologically, it almost makes sense.
Right. You would almost want at that point to have some corpses strung out on the ground, maybe outside that 50-foot range that are just like embedded into the ground.
And then wondering why they have these huge holes in them.
Right. Right. But yet there's that and make it kind of obvious that 50-foot radius is just clear. Mm-hmm. Be like, wait a minute.
But outside of that, there's corpses with huge like holes through their bodies.
Exactly. They're like, well, we don't. Then all of a sudden the piercers drop. And they're like, get into that clearing. It's safe. They can't get us there.
Wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see piercers. Maybe rust monster.
Yeah.
Possibly.
Yeah. Yeah. The rust monster could just come and clean up the debris left from the people that the stone roper killed. It's like the cleaning crew.
What do you think, Vince? How would you use this nasty guy?
I don't know. I kind of would team him up like Matt said with somebody. I've been looking at this monster going, how would I actually use him? Maybe he can guard something. I would think, maybe he'll guard something special and have to get around him to get the magical item or something.
You know what? He would make an excellent guard beast.
Yeah.
You're absolutely correct. I never thought of that. You know, you put him in an environment he'd have to be in a natural cave environment so he could blend in.
Right.
And then, whoever I would put him in after maybe you fight the big bad guy or the big bad guys, however it might be. Maybe this hidden chamber is a natural cavern. Yeah. And inside this natural cavern is a Stow Roper with all this treasure that's on one end, and maybe false treasure on the other, and the false treasure where the Stow Roper is.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, or I could even see the adventurers are going through, and they come across two people with the stone roper that are actually drugged.
Mm-hmm.
So all of a sudden, they end up doing combat with these unwilling assistants of the Stroper.
Or even better, you use things like goblins or orcs that were attacked by this thing, and they're just wandering aimlessly.
Right.
And you're like, why aren't they attacking us?
Right. If that would be good if you had a couple. Like, the first one was actually defeated, but you still have these, but freshly, so therefore you still have the drugged out people wandering.
Or a mix of both.
Yeah.
Maybe you have the remnants of one party and maybe some bugbears or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
But there's 4 or 5 of them in this room that are kind of just wandering around aimlessly.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
I like that. Confusion. It works.
Yes.
Yes. Sounds good to me.
So we got to hear from our listeners. How would you use this guy, the Stow Roper? Let us know.
Yes. As we head into the treasure chest next.
You have opened the treasure chest. You may choose an item.
And we're going to pull out of the chest this week the Sword of Lions, which we found in A5 where the players accidentally bump into this sheathed Sword of Lions.
In the goop.
Yeah. I wonder how many players actually find this sword in the goop.
Well, it does say the first person walking across the floor of the room will bump into the sheathed Swords of Lion suspended in the goop. So first person walking across will find it.
I just wonder how many people actually are going to walk across down on the floor there. So,
well, some of them might not have a choice. Remember how the trap works.
Yeah, true.
You get zapped, dex check. If you fail,
my question
into the magical pudding.
Yeah. My question, I have a couple questions about this. So its sheath, the wearer is invisible via the invisibility spell. It's also a sword +1, in case I didn't mention that. Until he or she attacks, as in the invisibility spell.
Right.
When the sword is drawn, the invisibility ends, but the sword itself is always invisible. So you're attacking with what looks like nothing, but you actually have the sword in your hand. So how do you see the sword ever? Or know it's there?
You feel it. You feel the weight.
Let's just say I don't know, let's say, Matt, you go home after a day of adventuring, you put the sword on your table where you know it is, and then in the middle of the night you get killed.
Yep.
Now forever it's going to sit on that table and no one will ever know it's there.
Until dust starts piling on it in the shape of a sword.
Yes. But other than that, you can never see the sword.
This would be one where you take the bag of flour and throw it in the direction you think the sword is.
This is where we said before the doing the show, you literally become the invisible swordsman.
Yeah. It was just funny how it's like, how can someone find this sword other than bumping into it? You really
now,
or
I kind of would think of it as, is the whole sword invisible, or is just the blade invisible?
Well, while it's sheathed, the wearer is invisible. So that means there's a sheath of a sword floating around.
I guess the sword and its sheath are floating around in this goop. It's not very clear in the module.
That was what I was wondering about that. Not worried, I don't care. Right. I was concerned about that. It's like, well, does the sheath or the scabbard that holds the sword, is that just visible, or is the whole thing invisible? And if so, let's say a party puts it down, runs away, whatever, yada yada yada, and comes back, where'd they put that sword?
Yeah,
and they're looking for it for the next 10 minutes.
Right. Pretty much. That's how it's spelled out.
This sword obviously is designed for the use of a thief.
Oh yeah, or an assassin, definitely.
Yeah,
be perfect for an assassin.
Just not for the absent-minded assassin.
No.
The absent-minded assassin would probably tie like a little rope around it so he could see it, like a little color band or something.
Right. Put on the gauntlets that actually lock the sword in your hand, so you can't drop it.
You're totally screwed if you fall off a cliff and, like, say the sword falls out of the scabbard.
Yeah.
You hit thud on the ground, there's the scabbard, no sword. No! Right. Guys, help!
And since it says it's suspended in the goop, what about if someone fell on it? Is it suspended as in, like, pointing upward or downward, just laying there?
That's a good question. Doesn't actually say. But
Could you impale yourself by falling on the invisible sword, at which point when your party goes and finds your impaled body, there's a hole, but we don't see what poked through him?
Well, I would assume because of the goop that if you fell on the sword, it would just push the sword straight down because of the way the goop is.
Well, you would be able to see it after you take it out of the goop because
it'd be covered in goop.
That's right.
Yeah, but you're probably going to clean it off and go, wow, what's this sword look like? Oh my god, it disappeared.
Oh.
I don't know. I kind of like the Sword of Lions.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah. I can almost see a party, they find the sword in the goop and it's covered in goop. They start brushing it away, like, oh no, where's it going? They stick it back in the goop thinking the goop is what's giving it its power and making it form.
Mm-hmm.
True.
And at which point they'd be wanting to carry around a goop-covered sword.
But, I mean, beyond that, though, it's the sword itself is quite unremarkable.
Right.
I mean...
I want to know the legend that's behind this sword, because it's...
Yeah. I'm kind of curious if anybody knows beyond the adventure, if we could hear from Mr. Hammock or anybody else associated with this series, that they can, either email us or voicemail us and let us know what's the whole story behind the Sword of Lions.
I would definitely want to know, because it's the legendary invisible sword. I've never heard of it.
And that, I know, with that being said, this module series is tied to a World of Greyhawk. Is there something associated with the history of the campaign world?
Matt's looking it up. I can hear it.
Yeah.
Matt's Googling.
Google Foo is going.
Yeah. Well,
and.
It's actually in Neverwinter Nights.
Oh.
It's in Forgotten Realms, huh?
Yeah.
Okay, that's weird.
Yeah, that is kind of weird.
Not seeing anything about the lore.
It could have been just thrown in there like,
Yeah.
oh my god, it's the legendary sword.
Sword.
And everyone go, oh.
Yeah, the thing is, the Sword of Lions in Neverwinter is actually a two-bladed sword.
Yeah, because two-bladed swords are cool.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, if anybody could tell us, that's rfistaff@gmail.com or 570-865-4210, the hotline. And that's going to put a wrap on this show for A3.
Yeah.
Smackdown on the Slave Lord. I like that name better, actually.
Smackdown the Slave Lords? Yes, that's the Hackmaster version. Interesting thing about this, before we end, they're really, in comparison to the Scourge of the Slave Lords, the Super module, not much difference.
Yeah.
Not much difference. The only difference I saw was the one map where it's the Gauntlet, the original, where you have to go through the caves.
Yeah.
There's a lot more a space. There's a lot more tunnels that you have to go through.
Yeah.
And that's just because they wrote Scourge of the Slave Lords as a campaign adventure.
Well, what we'll do is next week, our next show, we'll finish up the series A4 module. What's it called? Let's see. In the Dungeons of the Slave Lords. Mm-hmm. And we'll compare it at the end, everything A4, A1 through 4 through the Super module.
Oh, okay.
So everyone can get a good idea if they want to pick up the individual modules or they want the actual Super module.
Mm-hmm.
Perspective on both.
Yeah, good idea. I like it.
Yeah,
Let's run with that.
Yeah, run with that. Yeah, run with it and don't break the egg.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to wrap the show. Well, hopefully Will will be back with us next week, and Matt will be sticking around.
Yeah, I should be here.
Okay, good. And that'll end the show. So keep it original, keep it old school, and good night, everybody.
Good night.
Roll for initiative.